Welcome and Ndumnala to my fellow Sabassemblers and fellow collectors to today's Sabassembler unboxing. And as you already know, today we have the XM Studios quarter scale Deadpool, which is also the B version, which comes with the extra switch outs and that extra comic frame thing you can add. And this is a statue I've been waiting for quite a while, which has been on my list that I've had to put aside, waiting just to be unboxed, but finally it's here and just waiting to be unboxed. So just before we continue, I want to say thank you to all the supporters and subscribers for your help and subscribing. And if you're new to this channel, I would be very grateful if you don't forget to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. Since you all know we're trying to get the 1,000 subscribers and we're doing very well in the past reaching that, and thank you for everyone who has been subscribing in the past where the subscriber numbers have been going up recently, and thanks a lot again. So let's do less talking and continue with the unboxing. So the Deadpool box comes in a relatively small box, but it has got some weight to it, I'll be honest. So let's just put it aside, turn it around and see what's inside. So, I've got the knife here and let's just go through it. I don't think the Deadpool is going to be some kind of huge statue, but it's not going to be small either, so we'll see. Since I've been unboxing a lot of X-Men statues in the past, I thought this might be an interesting extra for my X-Men, for my XM Studios X-Men line. Honestly, I'm not a big Deadpool fan, but I thought the statue looked pretty good, so I got it. Okay, so as usual, inside we have XM's black envelope, which comes with this nice art print where you have Deadpool just jumping out of the fire over this carousel unicorn. Once you can see it, this is actually a really interesting art print. This art print actually also shows that comic book frame. With the comic book Wahoo and Chimichangas on the corners, looks really good, I think. And on the next part, as usual, we have the packaging guide and the QR codes for the assembly video of XM Studios. So looks pretty good up to now, and let's put these aside and get the box out. So as usual, we have XM Studios black, nice solid boxes. On the side we have this Deadpool logo, saying Deadpool on the side, and the same thing on the back. So let's open this. And on the inside box we have just a short description of who Deadpool is, as usual, as X-Men does with all their boxes, and on the other side just everyone involved in the production of this statue. So as usual, I'll get all the pieces out and continue with the assembly then.
አምባራስ ነው ደንቢያ የበቀልክበት አምባራስ ነው ደንቢያ የበቀልክበት ካይኩን አምላክ ነው ወቃሰሚናስ ካፋሲል ነዘር ከገላዲዮስ አስበ መደዳ ዘርን ቋጠር አመታ ተገነው የብረት አጥር ነስበም መደዳው ዘርን ቋጠር አመታ ተገነው የብረት አጥር ታውዳማ ደማየን ታውዳማ ደማየን ታውዳማ ደማየን ታውዳማ ደማየን ታውዳማ ደማየን ደሞ ለጎንደር ሰው ደሞ ለሰሜን ሰው ደሞ ለጎንደር ሰው ደሞ ለሰሜን ሰው ለጋስ ቋድስ ነው ማሸስፋ ሞገስ ነው መፈቀርም ሰንሰው ለጋስ ቋድስ ነው ማሸስፋ ሞገስ ነው መፈቀርም ሰንሰው ስሜን አርማ ትሆን መገንታና ሞራ ስሜን አርማ ትሆን መገንታና ሞራ ውላለው አንገሩ የመይሳው ቋራ ውላለው አንገሩ የመይሳው ቋራ ወልቃዬ ልትመር ታወል ሰማራ ከማረሻ አግርጌ ያድርሰኝ መራ ደላንታ ላይ ልደር ዳፋት ላይ ልሰራ አንድ ተፈጥሬ ላሳለ መከራ ደላንታ ላይ ልደር ዳፋት ላይ ልሰራ አንድ ተፈጥሬ ላሳለ መከራ ታውዳማ ደማየን ታውዳማ ደማየን ታውዳማ ደማየን ታውዳማ ደማየን ታውዳማ ደማየን ደሞ ለጎንደር ሰው ደሞ ለሰሜን ሰው ደሞ ለጎንደር ሰው ደሞ ለሰሜን ሰው ለጋስ ቋድስ ነው ማሸስፋ ሞገስ ነው መፈቀርም ሰንሰው ለጋስ ቋድስ ነው ማሸስፋ ሞገስ ነው መፈቀርም ሰንሰው የፍቅር አስመራ ዳባርቃ አስከትቶ ያስንተኛ ዘሶ ዳባርቃ አስከትቶ ያስንተኛ ዘሶ የፍቅሩ ሰራዊት ባናቴ ላይ ታሶ የፍቅሩ ሰራዊት ባናቴ ላይ ታሶ ድንፈላሰስበት በቆላም በደጋም በሻኛ አዲስ ዘመን ሸማንና ጥልጋ አንንም በታትትን እንደላደል ፍቅር አይሰበር አሞራ ገደል ልንመታትትን ልንደላደል ፍቅር አይሰበር አሞራ ገደል ታውዳማ ደማየን ታውዳማ ደማየን ታውዳማ ደማየን ታውዳማ ደማየን ታውዳማ ደማየን ደሞ ለጎንደር ሰው ደሞ ለሰሜን ሰው ደሞ
Okay, welcome back everyone. I've unboxed all the individual pieces as usual. I have them all lying here next to me, and we have the relatively small base. In fact, when I started unboxing this, I was actually surprised that I believe this statue is actually gonna get bigger than I expected. Even the base, when I saw it first, I expected a small base, but this is actually not that small, and it actually does have some weight to it, and it's actually bigger than I expected. And here we have this small piece of, or the steps of some kind of carousel or from some kind of fun fair or so, and got a lot of detail and looks really nice. And I've got a lot of other pieces here next to me. As I said, this statue comes with a lot of small pieces, and we'll see and how these go together. So I believe the first piece would be this small wood plate that goes right here in the front with a magnet and at the bottom here of the base, and fits in with no issues, I believe. Just sticks in right, and it looks as if it's just, popping out, and I believe that's how it's supposed to look, as all the other pieces here next to it. So next would be, I believe you have these small kind of knives from Deadpool that just one fits in. I believe they're the same size. There's no like wrong or right. One, you just stick it in here right in the front. There's a small slit there, and second one right here on the right side. You also just stick it in right there. It goes in with no issues. There are no magnets or anything. They just hold it in place. And next would be these two pieces of these metal arrows that stick in the front of the steps. One on the bottom step, I believe. I'm not sure if these have any. I don't think there's a wrong or right. They just stick in. They stick in one right there, and the second one at the bottom. They also stay there in place. Not gonna fall out. Looks good up to now. And next would be these these dynamites. One fits in with a magnet, I believe. Or let's start with the other ones. There's one you can just put it right here in the front. There's no magnet to it or anything. They just stay there. There's the triple dynamite one, and there's a single one that stays here in the back. And one, I believe, just sticks in like with a magnet. There's a slit right here in the front, goes in, looks great. And then we have another one, next would be, I believe, what is it? Yeah, this unicorn from this carousel that sticks in with a huge peg. This thing is actually pretty big, and it's got some decent weight to it, and that just I think just sticks in. I'm not sure if I got it in the right way. Or actually, I think the head has to be looking backwards, and yeah, now it fits in. I don't believe the right way, and it looks good. And next would be the unicorn's tail, which sticks in with another peg and just fits in there. No issues there, looks good. Next would be the unicorn's horn that you just fit in right here in front of his forehead. looks good. Next you have these two foot pieces of the saddle. They are labeled A and B. I believe the B piece is the one that's got a curve to it and has a magnet and just sticks in there, no issues. The second one is that goes here on the bottom next, also sticks in with no issues, with a very strong magnet, looks good. And next I believe should be Deadpool himself, and this Deadpool piece is actually pretty big and it's got some decent weight to it, and even the body looks beautiful. A lot of detail on it. Looks phenomenal to me. I really like it already. And that fits in with a kind of relatively small peg and a key that goes in at the back of this pony, and that goes in with no issues. The only thing I'm afraid of is starting to wobble, and whoa, I hope I got all the pieces right. Well, looks really good up to now. Whoa, this statue is actually already getting bigger than I expected, as I said before, but it's starting to look good, I think. Okay, so next would be, I believe something I forgot was this other metal piece of the carousel that we put in at the back of his head, and it goes in with a magnet. This probably should have been done before we put in Deadpool, sorry about that. And it has a magnet on the one side and just sticks in with no issues. Beautiful. So next would be, let's start, as I said, this is the B version, which comes with all the extra switch outs, that comic frame thing for example, and the extra skates and the head. So let's start with the regular switch out, regular look first. So the regular look comes with these normal boots. Come with the A version, that's the regular one, and the left boot just sticks in there with a magnet. The second one, as I said, the whole Deadpool, actually the whole weight is on this small pole here, and it does start wobbling once you start moving the statue. So I don't know, sometimes I get scared, to be honest. And the second foot goes here in the back. Looks pretty good up to now. I'm pretty happy with it. So next would be these two pieces from this Sai sword or blade, with this triple bladed kind of small knife like Raphael from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle has. One goes in on his left leg. We just stick it in, I believe this way. It does have a key and a peg, so you know which way to put it in. That goes in that way, and the longer blade goes in the other side. This is a very small, fine peg. You just have to kind of, I believe, just turn around and see until you get the right position, and finally we have it. And it's supposed to look like that, I guess. Looks pretty good up to now. Like that. And next should be this small, I don't know, what is it, chicken or a duck? Yellow chicken that goes into his belt with another small fine peg, and stays in place there. Looks good. And next would be, I believe, his small pistol, and which sticks with a magnet onto his chest here on the side. And with a magnet it just fits in right there. Looks pretty good. And wow, this is actually a pretty interesting statue. Next should be the cases for his katana sword that go in with a magnet on his back. And first would be you get two blade pieces. You get the smaller one, which I believe is just a magnet that fits in on the right one. I believe you just like stick it in there. I believe it goes in and stays there. And the next one would be his right arm, where you put in, this arm, the right arm is supposed to be like as if he's reaching back, so you have to put the sword kind of in first and through his hands. So there, fit in like that, and then you fit it into his arm, and then just kind of make it fit it into the case like that. Hope you can see it. Looks pretty good. The statue's already getting pretty big, I guess, huh? Okay, I guess. So the left arm or the left hand would be this small auto rifle that he holds with one hand, and that just fits in right there, looking good. And last would be the regular classical masked Deadpool head, which fits in right there. So I believe that's it. That's Deadpool. And whoa, here we have Deadpool in all his glory and looking nice. And as I said, this is the regular look. The regular version, or the A version as XM calls it, that comes without any switch outs, and I'm very impressed. It looks pretty good, much better than I expected, and this is a really dynamic piece, and wow, it really looks like Deadpool's just going to jump at you, and beautiful. So I'll take a few moments looking at all the details and come back to you to the review then. Okay, welcome back. I've had a few moments to look at this great statue, and all I can say is I'm quite very much impressed of it. And as I said, this is version A, just the regular version without any switch outs, and even this one is already quite impressive. And as I said, Deadpool isn't one of my biggest, most favorite characters, but I really like the statue, and this is, I think, one of the most dynamic poses I've ever seen in a statue in all of my collection. And wow, I don't think you could actually create any more dynamic pose than this. It's just like Deadpool's in the air and jumping out, and whoa. And as I said, this is actually quite a big statue. I'm sure this is going to take up a lot of space, and as I said, when I saw pictures of this statue, I wasn't too much impressed, but when you see the statue in front of you, it's actually quite impressive, and you're definitely change your opinion if you had the same opinion as I did at the beginning. And wow, this whole statue actually tells this whole story. And oh yeah, just one more thing I actually forgot to take out are these there's a small plastic bag that comes in the box with all these small bullets and empty cartridge cases that you take out, and you just distribute them all over the base any way you like. And I'm not going to take out every single one now. This is something you might want to do at the end when you know where you're going to display the statue. And we'll just leave these inside this plastic bag for now. And as I said, I've had moments to look at it, and all I can say is, as I said, I'm very much impressed. Even the paint job, the pose, beautiful job by XM. And let's start from the bottom, or with the whole concept. I think this is a wonderful concept for Deadpool. As I said, Deadpool is a really dynamic character that just jumps around and is known for speed and a lot of weapons and explosions, and I'm sure you definitely can see that. And when you see this statue, you immediately, that's Deadpool, and I think probably one of the best Deadpool statues out there. And wow, beautiful. So let's start at the bottom of the base. Of the statue. So here we have this part of a carousel, I guess, and you have these wooden steps and these colorful pink steps and these metal edges. And on the side, you can see all these wooden frames and that are inside, and with this stone and kind of things supposed to look like a concrete. Inside, and you have all these wooden frames around it, and looks beautiful. I think, unfortunately, you're never gonna see this, but I must say, this is one time where I think XM did a phenomenal job to make stone really look like stone. It really looks like real concrete and stone, and it doesn't have like this other kind of glossy finish as XM has in many other pieces they have had before. Here, this really looks like real stone, and really thumbs up on that for XM Studios. And you have all these wooden plates that come out here on the sides, and on top, probably as said, this is some kind of battlefield, and you have these broken wooden plates already falling out due to the explosions or maybe aging or whatever reason. And inside you have these darker wooden parts on the outside, the more younger ones probably, and you have the paint job on it is done really nicely. You have all these small different shadings and the small slits, and it really looks like wood. And I think XM did a great job here, and all these different shadings of the wood looks really great. And where you see on the inside where the base fits in, and you have you have kind of the part of the carousel that's as if it's just like kind of being ripped out or just falling out due to the explosion, or when Deadpool is just jumping on it. And here you can see all the other pieces of wood are just kind of cracking and falling out and breaking apart, and you see all these extra small pieces of wood lying around, and all in the inside it's darker. And XM's done a great job here with the paint job again. And also these parts here where you have these arrows flying in, looks pretty great here too, where they go in. Great job. So next part, let's start with the a unicorn, and here, I mean, this is definitely, obviously not a real unicorn. This is just the carousel for children, and you have this glossy finish and nice colors, and I mean, it really looks like a real carousel unicorn. And as I said, the whole weight of the statue is on this one piece, and once you start moving the statue a little bit, it starts wobbling and shaking already, and that's why I'm kind of afraid to move the statue around too much. So on the sides here in the front, you have some of these battle damages, explosions. I don't know if it's maybe cuts from the knives or whatever here in the front, and here in the back, I mean, and more cuts here in the front, and here you have some bullet holes, beautiful smaller ones and bigger ones here at the bottom. And definitely the paint job on the carousel is great. When you see the saddle, I mean, the detail on the saddle is beautiful. It's supposed to look like leather, and it actually looks like real leather, to be honest with you. And I think I didn't expect that XM would put in so much effort on this part of a carousel, and probably even on a real carousel you won't get one with so much detail. And even the edges here on the sides are done very well. There's a lot of detail in paint job and also in sculpting, and wow, beautiful look. And even the face, the head of the unicorn here, and the mouthpiece of it, all these small details, I mean, wow, phenomenal. Looks pretty great, I think. And all that, of course, continues on the back too. I mean, probably parts where you're never going to see, but all these details continue there, and great job. So now let's come to Deadpool himself. All I can say is, wow, the level of detail on Deadpool is, I mean, phenomenal here. You have, I mean, even as I said, this is a really dynamic pose, and you have him jumping in the air, and it actually looks as if he's just in the air, and great job. And there, as I said, the body has a lot of detail and a lot of small pieces that just go, a lot of these straps that you see all over his body, on his boots, his body. You have you have the straps for the swords, and you have his belt, you have the straps on his legs for the boots. I mean, the cushioning or the protection on his thighs, on his shins, or for his knees, for his knives, for the size, and I mean, whatnot. You have all these extra cases and all these for all these gadgets, and wow, I mean, there's just so many straps on this body, and I mean, phenomenal. And when you have, like, for example, the black part of his body, it has a different kind of texture than the red part. The red part is more just like kind of just like a flat, kind of shiny kind of material, but the black part has a textured, more like a crosshatch kind of texture material, very fine, with a very fine and sculpting and texture. I mean, it looks almost like real kind of this plastic kind of material, kind of stretch material. And what else? And all the edges, you have all these small stitches, like on his face and on the other parts of bodies. You have every single stitch has been sculpted in, and even like around his eyes, on his head, side, and even on that continues all the way like on his boots. Great job there, and I'm very much impressed. Even also all these straps, they're supposed to be like leather straps, and again, like the way they made this leather look like, it looks like real leather. And as I said, every single stitch has been included, and it's not just painted on, it's actually sculpted. And wow. And some of these metal pieces, like where that go on top of the leather, and wow. And then you have his gun. I mean, also the gun has a lot of detail on it. The metal really looks like weathered, old used metal. You have this gun that's probably been used for many years, or that's gone through a lot, and all the edges have been worn off. You see, like, they're not black anymore. You can see that they're starting to be more like, you have the silver color on the edges. Looks great there. And then when you come back to his, I mean, the grips of his sword, there's a lot of detail. You have all these leather grips from his katana sword, a lot of high level of detail there. And I think you have the blade. I don't think that's real metal, but the paint job on it makes it look like that, and looks great too. I'm very happy with that. And when you look at the face of him, I mean, as I said, his whole face is covered, and you can't see so much expression on it, like the eyes. You just have this whited out eyes, but you can see all the small parts, like where his mouth stretches the rest of his mask. You can see all this where the stitches just kind of start stretching all these small parts. Every single one of those has been added in the sculpt, and you can see that in his costume too, here on his legs, on his back, and on his butt. That it goes all over his body, and also you can see like where his ears are, and all these stretches and all the folds in his in his costume. Wow, there's a really high level of detail in the statue, and I'm very much impressed by that. I mean, the only part where I could theoretically complain, and where the level of detail kind of goes down, is probably the cases for his swords. Here it's just a kind of plain color, and there isn't really any detail there, and it just, I think maybe XM thought no one's ever going to see that, but it's probably true. But I mean, maybe it's a shame, but I mean, this is really probably just nitpicking, and this is a phenomenal statue. So as I said, this is the version A, and let's just see how big the statue is in this version. And the tallest part is, I believe, where the grip of his sword goes from the bottom. And this will be almost 65 centimeters tall. Almost. And the width of the width of the statue is probably from the front of his leg to the back of his gun. That's going to be that's 53 plus minus 1 centimeter. And the depth I think is just probably maybe this one arrow all the way to maybe the back of the unicorn. And we have it here. That's just maybe 32, 33 centimeters, something like that. And I mean, this statue actually is much taller than it looks like on the photos, and that's what surprised me. And this is probably going to take up more space than I expected. Okay, so yeah, as I said before, I I did get the version B, and this statue comes with a few switch outs. So let's add those now. So the switch outs you get are these skate legs, feet, and here we have the two skates with the extra rocket boosts coming out from behind. And all I can say is I'm surprised is like actually the wheels on the skates actually do turn. I mean, that's unusual for XM Studios, but this time they did add that, and I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's a nice extra finish. And let's just take out the regular feet first. Here we start with the right one, and here we have, let's put this one in first. The next one we have here. And these go in with magnets again, wonderful. And here you get these extra two pieces of smoke. That there's a smaller one and more larger one. I believe maybe you should put these in first before you put in you should add the smoke pieces first and then put in the legs. So these go in with very fine pegs. Yeah, so here we have first one, and here we have the second one, and it's supposed to look like this. Just one thing I'd like to say is that these pieces of smoke I believe they're made out of some kind of resin material that have this milky kind of touch to it and have this white finish on top, because on the inside you can see that it's more like kind of clear resin material and lets through some kind of light, but it looks pretty nice. I think that was done very well, and they look great too, and very happy with those. I really like this. I'm very happy I got the version B. You have this extra finish to it, and it looks great, I think. And just one more thing you have to add for the left boot is there's this small extra knife that just adds into with a magnet and just sticks in right there. And the next switch out for this version is another portrait where you have this semi unmasked version of Deadpool, where you can see all the scars on his face from all the experiments, and you see some blood of the scars, and even the look on the inside of his mouth, like you see the teeth. Really, it's done pretty well, I think. Even the skin tone looks pretty good. And for this portrait, there you get this extra. You have this small grenade that you have to kind of stick inside between his teeth. There's a small hole in the mouth, and you just stick that in as if he's supposed to look like he's just pulling out the key from the hand grenade, and then you just stick it in, I believe, or just make sure it doesn't fall out. Honestly, I'm just kind of afraid that this thing might fall out, to be honest with you. Now I got the right way. Now it's holding there, and it looks pretty good. And this is, I believe, the extra switch out version. And the last extra switch out is this kind of comic book frame you get with this version, and I'm not sure yet whether I will be displaying it with this or without. And it still has this you have this plastic security, protection plastic on the front and back side of it, and I'm not sure if whether I'll be using it because of that. I'll just leave that on for now, or should I not? Should I leave it on? Oof, tough decision. Since I do want to protect it, but I'll just take it off. For all my viewers and who have been supporting me, why not give up something? So I'll take it off and just see how it's gonna look like. Let's just take this off. We've taken it off, so to get the full look of the version B, what we have to do first is you have this one dynamite piece that goes in with a magnet. You have to take that piece out, and then where that dynamite piece went in, you just have to kind of go, oops, I just got it the wrong way around. Here you have this key for the frame, and you just have to kind of go around and fit it in where that one was. And it fits in really nicely, and don't think it has any problems. Looks good to me. Okay, so this is the full version B mode, and you have the frame, and here you have Deadpool just jumping out through the comic book frame, or out of your comic book into reality, and beautiful look here. And here you have, the edges, you have this kind of very glossy plastic, and it's actually a sturdy frame. I was surprised. It's actually pretty, firm, solid material, and even though it's some plastic material, it's actually pretty solid, and it's got some really nice, feeling to it, and looks pretty good. When I saw this on pictures, I was actually kind of surprised. I thought, this is a stupid extra, or, gadget to it. Actually, when you see this in person, it honestly does look like, Deadpool is actually really jumping out of the comic book, or out of the frame and jumping out. It actually, this way in reality, does look better than I expected, and now I'm actually starting to consider actually displaying it this way. As I said, like before, you had this small dynamite that's supposed to be there to cover the small hole for where you could potentially add the frame. And so if you're using this frame, you just could pack away or hide this other piece of dynamite. And okay, and this statue is actually looking pretty nice, and you have all this typical comic book. And look, since this says like to be continued, this is probably the last frame in your comic book, and in the end you have Chimichanga's typical Deadpool logo, or speech, and wahoo, and all looks pretty great. It really looks like, as I said before, as if Deadpool is jumping out of the comic book right at you. And okay, let's just quickly, not a lot has changed, but the boots are pretty much the same as they were before. You have these extra wheels that have been added, and I said, the wheels have been done really nicely. You can see they're not just wheels they put on. You can see all the weathering of the skates. They have been used, and the metal on it, and I have the feeling it's actually real metal on the inside, and all the brakes on the skates, all the weathering has been sculpted and painted onto it, and also the metal the usage of it were very nicely done from XM. Wow, very much impressed. And something else I'd like to say is, like, again, same with on my last piece, the Joker from XM Studios. What I want to say is, like, on both statues here again, there is no seam lines whatsoever. I really tried to find seam lines here, but it's impossible. I couldn't find any, honestly. All these seam lines are where the boots go in, and the arms, the legs, the hands, this chicken doll, the knife. I mean, trust me, there's no single seam line on the statue. I mean, wow. Thumbs up again on XM Studios. You've done a phenomenal job, and I'm very much impressed by the statue. And even though this wasn't one of my top statues, but I'm now, since that I have it in front of me, I'm really impressed and happy I have it here, and I've finally unboxed it, and I'm very impressed, and it looks just phenomenal. Probably the best Deadpool statue out there on the market, I think. Something they might have been able to add, in my opinion, might be another switch out for his right arm, not just that he's reaching out to his back. Maybe you could have had another arm where he's holding another rifle or a gun. That would be, I think, in my opinion, another nice switch out. That's just my personal opinion. And if there would be anything to complain about, in my opinion, it might be maybe this small grenade. There's a small chance it might fall out. It's not sticking in there quite firm, but that's, again, just nitpicking. That's just my opinion, and I'm not sure yet whether I will be displaying it with this portrait or the regular Deadpool portrait. Honestly, I'm someone who really likes to use just the regular look, but on this statue, I mean, this version, I'm actually considering to use this one. I mean, because it does look really nice. You have, because of the grenade that he has in his mouth, it kind of fits into the whole scenery. You have he's right in the battle, and he's shooting, and he's kind of reaching out for his knife, and the next he just wants to pull out the key out of his grenade and throw it at his enemy. And wow, and I mean, even if you add this frame, I don't think that will not change the measurements of the statue we've done before. It might change the look, but it's not going to change the width or the depth or anything else, or the height even of this statue. It's just gonna stay the same. Okay, so yeah, one more thing. I was lucky enough to get an extra plaque from XM Studios with this statue, and wow, and I love XM's plaques. All of you know that, and let's just see how this one looks like. Yeah, another plaque here. Let's just take off this protection plastic. Wow, it looks beautiful. And I'll leave it here in the front. Looks great. All I know definitely is I will definitely be displaying it with these rocket skates. I mean, if you already have those, I mean, why would you want to display it just with the regular boots? I mean, I think that would be a stupid thing to do. So, anything else I can think of? I mean, I think I've said everything I can say on this statue. I'm very impressed. I'm very happy about this. I mean, about getting this statue and finally unboxing it. Something I can say about the statue is that Deadpool from XM Studios is definitely a masterpiece of statue engineering, because you have the whole Deadpool and the unicorn all just balanced out. on this small peg right here in the middle of the base, and when you see it sometimes you just wonder how can this small piece right here carry all this. And like I said, this statue is a masterpiece of statue engineering. The way XM Studios balanced out the whole, every single part on Deadpool, well, thumbs up on that. And sometimes you might be afraid that this peg would just break off someday, but I hope that will never happen, because I mean, Deadpool is not light. He's actually quite heavy, and I can say wow. Well, again, thumbs up to XM Studios engineers. When I got the statue in first, I didn't expect to say this, but now that I've unboxed it, looked at all the different switch outs of this version B, and seen it in person, not just on pictures, and after I've reviewed it, let's celebrate, because really, the statue is a reason to celebrate. One more thing I'd like to say is, if you're planning to move the statue, I probably recommend you take it out apart totally. You take Deadpool off first, because when you're moving the statue is, I mean, the whole Deadpool is actually, the whole weight is on this small peg here in the bottom, and it starts shaking once you start moving the statue a little bit, and you don't want to risk this thing breaking off. So I recommend taking Deadpool off first, and maybe even the the unicorn, just to be on the safe side, of course. I hope you liked today's show, and if you haven't, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe button, since we're trying to reach the 1,000 subscribers. And again, thank you to all my fellow Sabassemblers and other collectors for supporting my channel. So, all I can say now is, God bless you, God bless our statues, and have a nice day.
أما ليلي ليلي وردان تهلا وزما ليلي نانو وزما ليلي نانو أما ليلي ليلي بونتون تهلا وزما ليلي نانو وزما ليلي نانو أما ليلي ليلي وردان تهلا وزما ليلي نانو وزما ليلي نانو شجع ترمبولي ويا دخيوان بولي يانا يانا شجع يانا يانا ويوجن بيا بونا عجبت بشانو ما وردان تهلا ويأدين وان جيراني ويأدين وان جيراني بشانو ما بونتون تهلا ويأدين وان جيراني ويأدين وان جيراني جالة تكو ما بونتون تهلا وقلبي ما هيراني وقلبي ما هيراني ترمبولي شكا ترمبولي تالا وين الناوني تورا وين الناوني تورا عفانا سمعنا وردان تالا سيدون قدوني تورا سيدون قدوني تورا ترمبولي شكا ترمبولي ويا دخيوان بولي يانا يانا شكا يانا يانا ويوجن بيا بونا ودربونا بونتون تالا والقلوكي فنا والقلوكي فنا خد ودربونا بونتون تالا والقلوكي فنا والقلوكي فنا نولجو دايما بونتون تالا والوالقوتي فنا والوالقوتي فنا شكا ترمبولي ويا دخيوان بولي يانا يانا شكا يانا يانا ويوجن بيا يانا ونشي شكا يانا ونشي ويمن ماي نكاشي ترمبولي شكا ترمبولي ويا دخيوان بولي يانا يانا شكا يانا يانا ويوجب بيا
البين